Wow. Okay. Yeah. You missed everything. You missed the most epic introduction ever. So if anyone else knew lip sync or like to read lips, that's good for you. Good for you. Feel free to pass along anything important you heard to the other ones. There it is. Yes, I'm back. Yes, I was thinking I would do it like without sound for once, because I wanted to do something interesting, something we haven't done before. And then I changed my mind, of course. So we're live. We are 7 people here already. It's great to be around. It's what I've been doing so far is mostly just passing the link around, just letting people know where we're on, letting people know where this is happening. And yeah, I titled this stream, What Are You Hiding From? Your Hidden Shadow Personality. And I want to talk about the shadow functions. I want to talk about our hidden interests and our hidden personality, the things about us that we don't always realize, the things we do that we don't always recognize. And something I think anyone who's worked with MBTI for a while has done is come to the realization that you do use your shadow functions. People say you don't. People say, no, that doesn't happen. No, it was always your dominant function. It was never your shadow. But yeah, the shadow does occur. And usually we realize in retrospect, we realize afterwards that we did something based on the priorities of the shadow functions. We realize that at one point we get so inspired and it just seeks out and it just comes out. And it's like, wow, I can do it too. I have this power within me. And the way I always looked at the shadow is as this kind of source of hidden power, but also the source of craziness and the source of laziness. And what I've always said is the shadow persists of 2 different archetypes. First, we have the muse, representing your top 4 shadow functions. You have the zombie, which represents your lower 4 shadow functions. So anything you do on autopilot is the result of the zombie or the shadow. We do it without realizing it. We don't think about it. It just leaks out. We just do it from the zombie. And then of course, there is the muse functions, what we do that we do because we're inspired, because we feel like this rush or this courage or this burst of passion to do it all of a sudden. And yeah, I don't want to idealize the muse too much. I want to say first, for anyone who is unfamiliar with the functions, that in basic you can paint it like this. If you're an INFJ, the muse is ENFP. So it's like this. Your first and last letter switch to the reverse. If you're an INFJ, your zombie is the ISTJ. So the second and the third letter are flipped. Now, your armor, you could say, is the ESTP. So all 4 letters flipped. That's your kind of armor. And what kind of armor would you say that is? It's the armor that protects you from being vulnerable. It's the strength you put on when you don't want to share something, or when you want to not acknowledge something, or when you want to endure in a difficult situation. It's what you do when you want to kind of maintain control and lash out, and when you kind of get sick of stuff and you kind of start lashing out against the environment. Hey, yapping. I want to say this also. Hey to everyone. Hey, yapping. Hey, Aiden. Hey, Fairy. Hey, Straymat. Hey, Fairy. I said it already. And yeah, welcome. Glad to have you here. So what I tend to say is to get to know your muse functions, you have to be vulnerable. Often the key strategy to get inspired and to get the energy and the motivation associated with the muse functions is to be vulnerable. And to be vulnerable is kind of to do things that are a little outside of your comfort zone. I tend to say that your dominant type is a positive state. It's where you should want to be. It's where you should want to start. If you're an INFP, the INFP is your comfort zone. It's where you want to start out, but it's not necessarily where you always want to be. It's not always where you always want to remain. And when you are in this too long, when you get too attached to this, that's also when you can start feeling a little stuck in a rut. You can start feeling like you're not moving forward in life and nothing is happening. Yeah, often what I've noticed is, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, by the way. Has anyone else noticed that once in a while you get this like really profound insight or discovery? You realize something about yourself. And then it feels so profound when you realize it, but then it disappears. Like after a while, it just goes away. You don't do anything about it. It just fleets away, and you're like while it felt so profound at the time, while it felt really good, it didn't lead anywhere. The way I see it, that is the limitation of the hero state or the flow state. While your dominant type is awesome for like helping you find things, it's an awesome starting point, and what gives you control and what gives you stability and what gives you energy and what gives you motivation, it is almost always necessary to take things one step further than you're comfortable with. Often if we get an insight, like we realize something about ourselves, like maybe you realize that, oh my God, I'm insecure. Like, oh my God, I didn't know I was this insecure. Oh my God, this is why I'm insecure. Oh my God, I just found out what happened in my family or my childhood that made me like this. It's when you have this insight that you should always learn to take things one step further. If I have this insight, if I come to realize this, I need to also make a change in my life. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. They get to make a discovery, they get an insight, but they don't translate it into action, and they don't necessarily make any changes to respond to this insight. And that's the thing, like an insight, if we don't act on an insight, it goes away. And here's the thing, like I'm talking, of course, of an INFJ here, in a sense. And I feel often when I think about my own muse state, when I think about the ENFP in me, I think about this kind of disappointment I tend to carry about missed opportunities. Like as an INFJ, I think it's easy to kind of get into this state of reflecting on missed opportunities, because your natural inclination is to stay and think about things, to wait and see, to detach from the situation and to get the bigger picture before you move on it. And because of this, of course, a lot of opportunities go away. Like because you wait too long, a lot of opportunities that were laid out before you disappear. And as an INFJ, over time, like this can start to accumulate. I think a lot of INXX types will relate to this. INFPs and INTJs will all relate to this. The accumulation of missed opportunities. And that's just one part of it. Like you have three other things that you miss out on. For an INFJ, of course, it's EN, it's missed opportunities. But it's also FP. It's also EF. It's also NP. First, as an INFJ, there is not realizing you had an option you had. Like not realizing that, because NP always brings to you like all these options, all these possibilities, different ways you could do or respond to situation. That's NP. It's very creative in its nature. Now an NJ is always about prediction and kind of figuring out if this is likely or not. Is this option going to lead anywhere? Is this going to lead somewhere? Where is this leading? Where is this headed? That's the question of an NJ type. Of course, it ties into a little what I said about missed opportunities. That it can stack up into these options disappearing from you, or you not realizing you had this option until later on, like when it's too late, because you were too hyper focused. You were so focused on your goal or on the long term, you didn't realize you had the option you did. Saki says, I just climbed on high rock, wearing headphones, listening to you, eating some food in deep forest. My God, that sounds awesome. That. It's an Elder Scrolls. Okay, I thought it was in real life. Beyond that, the INFJ or the IF type tends to, of course, like the introvert we are, not realize how important things are. Like an EF type is naturally very affectionate. When they see people hurting around them, when they see suffering, when they see people struggle, they go, oh no, that's not right. That's not how it should be. Like the EF type who is open and aware and in tune with themselves will always be aware of, deeply aware of the troubles of the people around them, the struggles, the suffering, the hurt, the pain. They notice people, and they notice when people get hurt and when things go wrong, and they have this awareness in a sense. And INFJ has a tendency to be a little more focused on what's happening underneath. And there's the thing, like often it's that the tip of the iceberg versus what's underneath it. Of course, it's what's below or what's up over the surface when it comes to introversion and extroversion. It's kind of that you notice the things, the suffering, the struggles people care about, but that they don't tell you about. You notice the hidden purpose and hidden feelings of the people, sometimes oblivious to or not respond appropriately to people that are suffering clearly, like people who are talking about their struggles, people who are sad or upset about something. Yeah, and IF type can go, that's dramatic. That's too dramatic. Like that's a tendency that I notice, a tendency to look at the ENFP and what the ENFP does and to dismiss it. Yeah, we have a tendency to kind of dismiss the muse. And in part, it's that we don't understand the muse. We recognize their values, we recognize and we value their feelings and their energy and everything about them, but we don't recognize their yearning, and we think their yearning is a little weird, or we go read it, we confuse it with being the inferior function, with being ET, or with being kind of from the ESTP perspective. We assume that where they are headed, like it's a bad route, when it's often not. It's just a different route. Both ways, I see ENFPs dismiss INFJs, and an INFJ's approach is stupid or pointless, or what the hell is going on? Like, what are you doing even? And that's often the main struggle in relationships between the ENFP and the INFJ. Like, I don't tend to say that the INFJ or the ENFP relationship is necessarily the best, but it's one among many positive relations. And it's kind of up to you what you need. But when you meet the ENFPs or INFJs, no matter if it's a relationship prospect or a friend, like there's an opportunity here to recognize things that you're not always aware of, and to recognize that there are other ways to roam than to your way to roam. And also beyond this, often when you don't dismiss the ENFP, it's that you kind of assume it's magic. Like when you look at the muse and the muse achieves something and they do something and you think it's incredible, you tend to assume it's magic. You go like, wow, how the hell did that happen? What did you do? Like, you don't understand the process, and though because you don't understand it, you kind of discard it as magic. And that's the thing. Like, we tend to look at what the muse does as magical or strange or abstract or crazy in some way. I thought it was. I've read so many books that detail this interaction so well. Like where you go, you kind of think it's something crazy, and this is where going into the muse is kind of. This is why I call the muse the crazy part of your brain, where I call the zombie the lazy part of your brain also, because it feels messy or complicated or strange, and it feels disorienting. Like, I don't tend to say INFJs should disregard their own process. I tend to say that's where you should start. When you don't start in this process, you tend to get lost. And while being lost can be nice for a while, I don't tend to see it as sustainable. I'm not trying to train INFJs to be like ENFPs, and I'm not trying to train ENFPs to be like INFJs. What I'm trying to do is to say, start out in your normal process, follow your road, but take it one step further. As an INFJ, that means start on your process, work towards long-term focus, work towards vision, speculate, deduce what you think is likely, form a probable course of action, be diplomatic and look at how things are done, form a code of conduct, do all those normal things to you that come natural to you. Step further, consider one more option that you think is a little crazy. Consider one more opportunity that you might otherwise have dismissed or missed completely. Consider ethical considerations in the moment, like what is right and wrong right now. Consider people that you wouldn't normally think of. Don't just focus on the group or the long-term emotional goals, but focus also recognize the emotions that people feel in the moment and recognize that that's important too. Yeah, I think often FJs tend to dismiss the anger people feel in the heat of the moment or the pain people feel, and to go, no, but that's not important. You have to shut that down, and you have to focus on the longer game, and that's not always going to work. Sometimes you have to start affirming and saying, I'm sorry to hear that. That's not good at all. What can we do about it? Like, consider one more person that you would normally have not have done, and consider some more emotions than you would normally do. But make it, of course, a part of your normal long-term goal and your ideal state and what you find comfortable. When looking at it from the other point of view, let's take a step back for a second. What are you guys thinking about? I have this awesome vanilla rooibos caramel tea. It's amazing. Seriously amazing. Yapping is wondering if her pasta is yummy. Cooking arm at the moment. Okay. Stray Mutt says, is it just me, or do INFP and INFJ not believe in magical thinking? Into that, actually. I have some notes on that. Let's start with the lazy thinking. What is lazy thinking? Lazy thinking is kind of what you do when you ignore your core values for the sake of maintaining stability and peace of mind and calm and control. When you want to maintain your rational self, when you want to avoid what's crazy or what you dismiss as impossible on what's happening, like what you have control over, a perceiver will say it's someone else's fault. A perceiver will place blame on the environment and on other people. I did it because of that person, or because of that, or because you said that, or because of this happening. A perceiver will perceive that they have no control over the situation and that things rest with other people. I've heard perceivers many times say that, no, it's not me, it's because of that, or because what that person said. It's like, it's this tendency to, when you get lazy, to dismiss your own responsibility and to ignore things that require you to admit to some fault or to consider your own approach in things. And what is the judging person's lazy thinking then? Well, the judging person is a little narrow-minded and focused on their own responsibility. And what's their own responsibility? And nothing else is my responsibility. My responsibility is only what I have decided is my responsibility. I'm only responsible for this and this and this and nothing else. To want to say, no, I don't have to be responsible for anything else because I'm doing this. That's the kind of thinking judges get into when they get a little lazy, when they want to avoid doing something, when they want to not owe up to something. So what is the main introverted laziness strategy? Well, of course, it's to say, I'll do it later. Not now. Now, let's wait a bit. The core lazy thinking in an introvert is to not to avoid change, to avoid action, to delay action, to overthink a project or a solution, to go through it for too long, to just do anything to avoid dealing with it. And then the extroverted strategy is to rush things through. The extroverted strategy is to be too short term in a sense, and to focus on what they can do right now. Well, it's too late now. That's a typical thing an extrovert will say. Yeah, maybe I should have done, but it's too late now. Or they will focus on they will imagine a very narrow time frame. They will imagine things being now or never, and of course that's to avoid action. That's to say, yeah, but you should have told me earlier. You should have said it sooner. You should have done it later. It's that tendency to push away responsibility and things that can stress you out. They're things that you don't want to do. This creates 4 different strategies. We have the leaders, of course, the INTJs, INFJs, ISTJs, and ISFJs, that have a very narrow sense of responsibility. I'm only responsible for myself. I'm only responsible for what I am responsible for. I don't have to deal with anything else that's happening in the world but what I'm working on. That's the only thing for me. Like to say, yeah, but my work demands all my attention and I don't have to consider anything else or anyone else. Yeah, I'll do it later. That's also it. Yeah, leaders will also postpone and delay and think about it for a long time before they go into action. The advisor, the introverted perceiving type, INFPs, INTPs, ISFPs, ISTPs will say, I'll do it later, of course, but they will also say, if you tell me, then I'll do it. If you remind me, if you tell me to again, if you do it later, if you say it to me one more time a bit later, I'll do it. Like they will always like make you responsible for micromanaging them or for letting them know when or where or at what time, and they will kind of doing something, but they will say, they will give you that one window of, can you come back to me about it? The explorer will, of course, first say, yeah, it's not my fault. It's someone else's responsibility. It's the government. It's the people. It's someone else. It's not me. Like they will push it on other people and they will emphasize others' fault. Or they will say, no, it's too late to act now. So something that I don't have time for it. Like it's too late, or I'm too busy, or there's too much going on. There's also a thing like extroverts will say they're too busy all the time. Yeah, I have too much going on. Sorry, I have to. My schedule is full. There's things happening, And of course, it's the tendency to be a little too short term about it. Thinking about all of this, let's talk about climate change. I mean, climate change is like the number one problem of the world that we're all facing right now. Okay, environmental problems are the number one issue we're all facing right now. We're all dealing with a quickly overheating planet. I was reading about it just earlier today. Thousands of islands around Sweden are going to disappear. The Netherlands is already underwater. What's going to happen if it raises even more? How are we going to deal with all of these issues? Of course, Southern Europe is going to turn into a desert. In the Arctic, the ices are melting. There's a rapid rate of animal extinction. The birds are disappearing. The bees are almost gone. Like we know all of this. And I think if there's any issue that shows the issues with lazy thinking, it's climate change. I think we're all lazy about it. We're all going through like all of these strategies that I've told you about. I'll do it later, or it's too late. Those happen simultaneously in this political discourse. I hear people talk about how we should have cars running on renewable fuels by 2050, and that's typical. I'll do it later. And then I also have people saying, it's too late to act now, so there's no point doing anything. And I hear these two things simultaneously. I hear this, let's do it 2050, and then I hear it's too late already. And while all of these things are happening, I see a lot of people that are a little too rushed. I see people stressing through bad solutions. The way I see it, the Paris Agreement was a rushed solution because they couldn't get anything else. They just got together whatever the path of least resistance they could take. They just did the thing that was the most easy to get it through as fast as possible, because they had gotten stuck in a rut. Are any of you guys involved in any environmental projects or in doing anything to combat climate change? Like, you can list anything you do. Like, does anyone here change their habits for the sake of climate change? Like, do you like compost? Do you like organize your trash? Do you like shower shorter? Do you like use less energy or fuel? Do you drive less? Is anyone doing anything here because of climate change? Yapping mentions veganism. Yeah, a lot of people say eating less meat is great for the environment, and at least eating less meat. Minimalism, another strategy: don't buy things you don't need. Don't use resources you don't really have any use for. Start taking cold showers, do less laundry. Yenla says, nothing will happen as long as there are people in power who don't want to act. Saku says, I walk. That's great. Yapping says, public transit, carbon offsets. Stray says, I no longer use a car. That's great. Awesome. It's really cool. So yeah, everyone here pretty much does something. That's awesome. Now, what I said earlier in this video was You should take things a little one step further than you usually do. Like you should try to practice the mindset of taking things one step further than you normally would. Like, of course, there are things that we can do that are easy to do, like easy low-hanging fruits when it comes to global warming. Like there are things we can all do. There are things that you might want to do that you're not doing. There are things that you might enjoy doing, that you might find stimulating or refreshing or fun or uh, anything when it comes to climate change or environmentalism that you might find positive. And the way I see it, you should explore this from your hero type, your flow type. So when I researched the ENTP personality type, I found that a lot of ENTPs and ENTJs with environmentalism. Bill Gates worked on many projects to combat climate change. I've seen George Monbiot, one of the leading authors in climate change. He's published a lot. I've seen ENTJs like Naomi Klein publish really amazing literature. This changes everything, climate change. I've seen ENTJs often act as the political pundits. I've seen Arnold Schwarzenegger, an ENTJ, start all these crazy projects to deal with climate change. All of them start from their dominant values and their dominant interests. And the way I see it, there's no type that has an interest on destroying the planet or destroying the earth. SJs, they love the thought of conservation, preserving things for the future, preserving things that are good, making things last, building lasting foundations, creating boundaries and structure. Like that's something SJs love. Arnold Schwarzenegger is terminating global warming. He's a terminator. Yeah, that's true. Yapping talks about GMOs and if it's better or worse. And yeah, there's discussions about it. I think it depends on the research, and I think it depends on a lot of things. Like, the problem is when we work with new things, we don't know the consequences they might have long term, and we don't know how they will interact with the ecosystems in the long term. But it's sure worth experimenting on. But Jan Law says if Tesla made their cars more environmentally friendly, she would consider buying one. Yeah, I'd also be open to a Tesla. With the NT, of course, innovation is something NTs tend to love, like the ability to make something more energy efficient, the ability to make something smarter, to build a smarter system, to come up with a smarter way to do things. So what can we do instead of coal power? Like a lot of NTs embrace that creative potential offered by climate change. Like with they see climate change as this challenge of creativity. Like, wow, okay, so we have climate change, so we have to create these new rules and designing tools and this new innovation. And that's like the amazing thing NTs do. What I see NFs do when it comes to climate change, it's of course the activism aspect of it. It's NFs are the most involved in lifestyle issues related to climate change, like how do we live, how many resources do we use, like minimalism, like mentioned, like how we eat, like all those things. NFs tend to start in that like idealistic sentiment of the people, what the people do, what the people can do, what is possible for us as a society, as a culture, as a community, or what change we could achieve in our country or in our community. Yeah, advisors should work a lot with information. If you're an advisor type, like Aiden and Intp. What you should work on is creating and spreading information that can help people change. Like, what advice can you offer the world? What information can you put forward to create positive change? What can you do to enlighten people? What can you do to spread good ideas and to put things out there? What can you help us reconsider that we currently take for granted? What can you question? What can you bring up? Like, what insight could you put out there? What can you offer people as an advisor? What I keep thinking of when it comes to climate change is like, what can you do based on your type? Jade, what I've always had in mind is creating communities, concepts, spreading information, sharing insight. It's providing understanding, providing the bigger picture on change and what's happening in the world. And it's being in the role of a diplomat and helping communicate these issues and to bring people together on working together against it. Like, no matter what your interests are, or what can you do? How can we help each other out in this issue, in this project? And that's like what I see all of us should consider. What can against the issues of the world that is natural for me, that is fun to me, that is stimulating for me, that is worthwhile to me. It's sad that people are so oblivious. They need a government to tell them what they have to do instead of acting for themselves and to simply be better, says Yen La. And yeah, it is. I'm not against government. I kind of see government as a necessary evil, at least for now. Maybe in the future we won't have government. Maybe we'll have something else. Who knows? There, and they're a part of this, and they're one step of it, one puzzle, piece of the puzzle. But so are the people, and here we say, like, to the people, it's just governments, it's just politicians. We generalize. We say the enemy is politicians that do nothing. And the politicians, they say it's China. And the Chinese politician says it's the US. Everyone is putting a responsibility on someone else. And what power does that give you? Are you basically what I hear politicians say, what I hear US politicians say is, I have no power, I'm weak. It's the Chinese that have the power. It's the Chinese that are powerful. Everyone, look to the Chinese. Give the Chinese the power. That's what I hear them say. And to the Chinese, what I hear, oh, it's the US that are powerful. We are weak. Like, everyone believes they are weak. Everyone believes they have no power. Everyone believes they lack it. So people say it's the politicians that have power. And the politicians say, yeah, it's everyone. Everyone says someone else has the power, so nobody knows where the power rests. Nobody knows where power lies. And I'm realizing more than ever that the work I do and the things I come to realize about personality psychology as consequences, political consequences, and consequences for society as a whole. Of course, I come from this from the perspective of positive psychology and from the MTI. I come from this from the perspective of personality psychology. Everyone's different. Everyone has a different way to be happy. What is virtuous, what is good is different for everyone. So how can we bring everyone's interests together? How can we build a society that's good for everyone? How can we balance all these issues and interests? How can we make sure everyone can have things their way? How can we ensure we build an education system that is diverse, that doesn't say everyone should think like this? How can we build an education system that encourages difference and diversity, and that practices diverse teaching methods? that's what we need to do also. We need to go into sociology, and we need to look at, okay, what are the consequences of these ideas then for education? What are the consequences on these ideas for climate change? Communicating climate change, how should we be dealing with it? How should we be working with it? What should we do against deal with poverty then? How should we deal with the struggles, the suffering across the world? What can we do based on these ideas? How can we implement these ideas to understand society as a whole? And right now. And my perspective, my primary perspective will of course always be on personality psychology, on studying personality types, studying people, studying how people think, studying the Enneagram and MTI, and also all other theories on flow and on health and on. So what are you guys thinking? Frank says, we don't need to do anything about global warming. We should use it as an incentive to focus on space travel and to traveling to other parts of the world and the universe, to colonize other planets. Dennis asks, what are we hiding from? Your hidden personality. And I see this discussion spiraling into this anarchism versus governmentism or statism. And I don't think that's a necessary discussion, really. I think if we can terraform Mars, we can terraform the Earth in the future. But for now, this is what we have. For now, this is the possibilities we have. That's what we can do. In the future, we might have space travel. We might have the ability to terraform other planets. But this is where we are right now. This is where we live. This is our home right now. And I don't know how many people want to give up on it. Let's start coming back full circle now. Let's do a 180. Okay. What I wanted to do with this discussion on climate change was to really just get us to think about something that we don't tend to think about. Like everyone tends to be aware of global warming, don't tend to talk about it. And that's the thing. Like that's when they've done studies on global warming, they found out that the core anxiety of the youth today is climate anxiety. So a lot of people are walking around with this massive anxiety, this massive shame, this massive fear over climate change. But a lot of us, I don't think, talk about it. And here's what I realized also about the shadow function. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about what is in our shadow. We don't talk about the missed opportunities that we feel bad about. We don't talk about the things we should have said that we didn't say. We don't talk about our failures in communicating with other people, or we don't talk about like those things that we care about, that we recognize as important, but that we feel insecure about. And I think the shadow can become this massive insecurity in a sense when we don't talk about it, especially when we don't talk about it. It becomes a massive insecurity because we know we're missing something. We know that we're not doing something. We know we're avoiding something that is important. And we feel anxious about it, we feel bad about it, but we don't talk about it. And this just becomes this spiral. And people talk about NITI loops. People talk about going in circles within your existing personality traits. And perhaps we're all going in circles within our natural personality. Perhaps we're all going in between the zombie and the hero, only doing things that are heroic when they are easy. Only doing things that we feel good about when it's simple. Only doing things that we like and that we care about when it's something that's less challenging. We like to play on easy difficulty or even very easy. And we should be amping up the difficulty level. We should be going from where we are right now to a little or beyond it. We shouldn't be going outside of who we are. We shouldn't try to be something we're not. We shouldn't try to do something that is not us. But we should go to where we are within our personality type. And then we should take it one step further from there. And I've seen created some good discussions here. And I think that's what I want to do more also, like bring things to the real issues of the world. It doesn't have to be political even. It can be something so simple like relationships, love, and just basic matters of life. I think often I stay too abstract, and I think I stay too abstract because that's where I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in talking just theory, but talking about the implications on the future offered by this theory. Are we insignificant? That's a question I get when I read Erin Martin's comment. Does small mean insignificant? When I get a mosquito in my bedroom when I'm trying to sleep and I see it and it's so small and it's so annoying. It's somehow so significant. It somehow matters so much. It keeps me awake all night because it comes and buzzes in my ear. But it's so small. It's so insignificant. But so it's so significant. The flapping of a butterfly's wing can create a storm on the other side of the earth. That's also something I'm thinking about. Someone doing something in one part of the world can spiral into things happening all over. And here's like the question I want to end this stream with. Do we want to be powerless? Do we want to lack power? When I was studying the magician archetype or the healer archetype in Enneagram, the self-preserving type, I found that the magician or the healer often is a person that wants to maintain harmony and balance with the earth, but wants to avoid changing the world, wants to avoid doing something to impact the world, is afraid of their own power, is afraid that they will do something bad. Like often magicians have all these rules, magical characters like Merlin and like all those archetypes in the history of fantasy and lore are people that are afraid of their own power. Like when you talk about Jedi's, there's always this massive fear of your own power, this fear that you'll do something wrong with this power, that this power is so great that there is a risk that you'll endanger the world if you use it for selfish purposes or from your own perspective. But there are so many Enneagram types that want to believe they are powerless. Just to name a few Enneagram types that want to believe they are powerless, we have the 5, we have the 6, we have the 9, we have the sexual type, and the social type, and the self-preserving type. All of these, for various reasons, are out of touch with their judging or perceiving function. So they want to believe they are powerless. They want to believe that it's not, I don't have to deal with it. It's not my responsibility. I don't have to take care of it. And I guess that's like, I guess it all stems from this thought that power is dangerous, or that they're somehow ashamed of their power. Erin says, we have a great impact on Earth right now, but in a million years, you may not know we were here. Yeah, that's true. People need to stop worrying about the Earth and start personalizing it. That way we be one a global family. I would agree that worry in itself is not necessarily a positive thing. Just like this, just to walk around and to worry, or to just walk around and to be frustrated, and to just walk around and to carry things. That's just so typical of the inferior function. When we're in the inferior function, when an INFJ goes into SC or TP or whatever, it's when we start getting frustrated, we start feeling everything is a distraction, everything is annoying, everything is a distraction from what we're doing. And when we go into the inferior, we start feeling worried, we start feeling insecure. I'm not good enough, I'm not doing things well enough, I'm not strong enough. Like every time we go into the inferior, it's like that's the typical response that we feel. Oh, it's that obsession with that's looming dissatisfaction. And I do agree that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to be in a state where you're constantly carrying around the baggage, or carrying around struggles but not doing anything about them, or just holding on to. Like, here's a good metaphor for the inferior function. You have a problem in life, you have a struggle, you have a trauma, you have an issue in life. Now what you use the inferior for is to hold up this struggle. Okay, I have this massive doubt or insecurity in my hands, so now I'm going to go into my inferior function, for example thinking and perceiving, and I'm going to hold up this problem, and I'm going to hold it high, and I'm going to hold it so high I can, like, and I'm going to use all my strength to hold up this massive trauma and to carry it and to walk with it. That's the inferior function. Where often what we should be doing is putting this trauma down and opening it up. Like, imagine it's a box now, and pick up what's in it, what's in here, like. And we should talk about it with people around us. What is it in here that I feel? What is it in there that I struggle with? What is it that I suffer with? And we should be vulnerable. We should share our insecurities and our issues, and we should talk about it. And we should let go of it, and let go of it by sharing it with other people, by sharing the burden, by sharing the weight, and by seeing it kind of disappear as you do, in a sense. Once again, that's abstract. Aaron says, when it comes to respect and compassion, I do want to be a global family, solidarity and all. That does not require giving up autonomy. Just treating others the way you want to be treated. Yeah, that's the golden rule. That's the golden rule. That's what Jesus said. It's what people across all over the world have said. It's one of the strongest ethical principles there is. It's a great one. Let's wrap up the stream, everyone. What did you guys take away from this stream? You need to get better at NI, says Aiden. Yeah, that's true. You must step outside your comfort zone to accomplish your dreams. Frank should go to Mars and live there. Global warming is good. Maybe it's good. It's good because it challenges people. Challenges are good. It's good to be challenged sometimes. It's good to be shaken up sometimes. It's good to raise the difficulty level in your life a little, from easy to normal. And it's good to raise the difficulty in life because life is difficult. And when you're playing it easy, when the world is at very hard, you're kind of playing outside the game. You're kind of like you think you have all these resources, but you don't. And that's the thing. Like we think we have all this money. We think we have all this. We have this planet. We think we have 100 years to live. We think we have so much comfort. But do we? Do we have the things as easy as we think we do? Do we have things as simple as we think we do? And do we have it like good right now? Because I also see this looming, the satisfaction. I also see this. I see this frustration, this frustration over inaction, and frustration over nothing happening, frustration over lack of change, frustration over common status quo, the satisfaction over not living up to your dreams and not fulfilling your purpose, not doing what you want to be doing. What is it you want to be doing? That's my ending for this stream. Thank you all for joining up. It's great to have had you all here. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Ferry. Thank you, Yapping. Thanks, Saku. Thank Dennis. Thank Charles. I do get what you're saying, Erin. I do get it. Yes. Link to Discord. Everyone join up on Discord. We need more people. It's an amazing forum, chat room where you can talk about pretty much anything, psychology, typology, whatever you're interested in. Also, feel free to visit me on Patreon. Or on the website. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and bye.